everybody. Why did we switch sides? What happened?
What's up?
What's going on? Screw it. I hope everybody's doing good. Hello, Susan. Hello, Susie. Andre, what's going on? Martia's in the house. Claire's in the house.
Hey.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be, I know that it's been a couple weeks since we did a show. Krista, what's going on?
What's up, Krista?
Laura. Did I already say hi to Laura? It's okay.
Yeah. Hey, Laura Guitar. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of that name.
Trish is in the house also. All you fine folks in the house. It's a little bit of a pre-show, a very short pre-show, by the way, because we got tons to talk about. Terry's in the house. Garland's in the house. Veronica's in the house. Love it. Love it. Trish and Susan, thank you so much for keeping up that YouTube channel. Listen, if you are on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe by clicking on that subscribe button below. Also click on that little bell alarmy thing, because that basically will tell you whenever we post a video, you will be able to get alerted. Oh,
Tampa Bay in the house.
Man, Beth, let me tell you, prayers up. Stay. I'm surprised you're in Tampa Bay right now. Just stay safe. I've got family down there, so they are staying put. Of course, they're a little bit kind of in between Tampa and Orlando, so they're still in that path. But prayers up for you guys, because
move somewhere, hide somewhere for now at least.
It's been nuts. It's just been crazy with the way that everything's going. Andre says we should vote for Prince 3D hologram. No, can't do it.
Nope.
He said not to.
Nope.
He said he did not want that absolutely positively at all. April's in Tampa also. Oh, all right. Listen, all the Tampa Bay folks are just like, all right, we're hunkering down and just watching Funkatopia live. That's what we're doing.
Just like in the basement with Funkatopia live.
In the basement watching on a little screen. Hi.
You're like, come on, go live now.
Yeah. I know from the Terry. I'm sorry, I don't want to lose out on the hellos. Terry, hello. Anybody else we missed? Claire, hello. What's going on? And Beth, I think, said hello to you.
Yeah, saying hey to Jamie. Long time no see. Glad.
I'm assuming that Facebook user is probably Cammie. I assume it is. Michaela, what's going on? Dave, what's going on? Carrie's in the house as well. I love all you fine folks. You are beautiful, beautiful. That's right, Beth. That's right. That's correct. Florida. No basements in Florida. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's true. See, that's a problem, is that we're from the north. And I'm from, Jersey, and
Boston,
so
automatically think basement.
Yeah. So I know from the Facebook post that we did. Actually, it's almost right at about 8:00. Yeah, it's right about 8:00. It's I think we only got it's officially 8:00 right now. So I know from the Facebook post. Well, let's go ahead and start. WTF, welcome to Funkatopia Live.
WTF.
Welcome to Funkatopia. And I know from the Facebook post, everybody's expecting me to go off on a little bit of a diatribe. And the reality of it is that we kind of got a lot of things going on, and some things are really kind of ticking me off, and I'm kind of getting annoyed. There's been some,
it really grinds my gears.
Yeah, it's it's just, it just makes me mad.
Don't it make you mad? It make me mad.
So there's just a lot of things that are going on that I kind of wanted to vent out about, and some of the you guys have probably never really heard me vent. I mean, I've kind of gone off on things, but never that I've kind of been annoyed about. So what we're going to do today, we're kind of going to go through some things. First off, a huge thank you to Gilbert Davison for coming on the last show. That show was absolutely amazing. I hope that you guys are thoroughly enjoying the YouTube channel now, because on YouTube, I went ahead and took the Gilbert Davison interview and I broke it apart into multiple pieces.
Yeah.
So there's 12 different stories that are up there now that are really shortened 5-minute versions or 10-minute versions of things and stories that he told. Because I do realize that part of our biggest downfall is the fact that we do these 2+ hour shows, sometimes creeping over 3-hour shows. And, somebody pulls it up and they're like, oh, hell no.
I'm not doing 3 hours.
And that's, and one of my favorite one of my good friends and one of my favorite podcasters does the Prince podcast, Michael Dean. You know, I love his stuff, man, but it's like I upload, I pull up a video and it's like 3+ hours. And I'm like, okay, we're going to settle in. And if I'm doing that to him, then I know that people are doing it to me as well. So, so that's one of the things I want to make
through it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to make sure of. So tonight, obviously, we have a big hurdle to go over. So, but before we get off the YouTube thing, I want to make sure that we understand that moving forward, I am going to be taking other interviews and I'm going to be pulling out pieces. Matter of fact, we got lots of stuff that we're going to be pulling out from the Wally Safford interviews because he had some amazing stories, some great shows that we had when NPG was on the show. We had like Tony M and Morris and Damon D, and it's like all these guys were on the show and they were just kind of swapping stories. There's so much good stuff there. We're going to be taking huge clips, and I'm going to be doing the same exact thing I did with Gilbert Davidson. So essentially, Funkatopia Live is going to be a lot more digestible. That's going to be, that's going to be the base. I mean, it's fun if you're listening to the shows, because I think a lot of times we kind of get 2+ hours into it and you're like, what, we've been doing this for 2 hours? It's like, wow. It's like time goes so fast. But tonight I think it's going to be one of those nights because I'm going to be talking about some things that may kind of agitate some people. I know that because it agitated me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up the form here. Here are the things that, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you some of the topics, okay, that I'm going to be covering tonight at some point in time. And then I want you guys, all of you who are watching, to pick the topic that you would like for me to talk about. We're going to talk about all of them. So if there's some ones that you would like to get out of the way first, let's go ahead and do that. But all of them are going to, all of them are going to piss off somebody. Let's just say that. At some point. There are no topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, unless there's topics that you bring up. There's no topics that we're going to be talking about tonight that aren't going to annoy or tick off some people. That's just the way it is. So here are the topics, and you tell me which ones that. Now, a couple of these topics actually go together. They're actually paired together. First off, we are going to be talking about the TMZ special, and but we're going to kind of feed that into talking about Prince and his drug use.
Right.
Yikes. Yikes.
Don't it make you mad? It make me mad.
And again, like you said, this is a free for all, and that's the point.
Free for all.
It's what we want to talk about, or what you want to talk about.
Well, and here's the thing too, because this kind of actually ties in with another topic. So these two topics go together. Because the other day, it was Kirk Johnson's birthday. I shouldn't have to say anything else, but the fact of the matter is that it was Kirk Johnson's birthday. I've never hung out with him. I've met him a few times. I got my picture taken with him. You saw it on Facebook. I've talked with him a few times, but we haven't had any like engaging conversations where we sit down and eat a burrito or anything. But yeah, that's anyways, when Kirk Johnson, so when I announced that, hey, happy birthday to Kirk Johnson, as you can imagine, I was getting texts and I was getting emails, private emails. There were a couple of people who were bold enough to make some statements on the Facebook page, right? Which I left up there. I want people to be able to speak their mind. I want people to be able to say what they're feeling. And so I don't want to edit that emotion, because if it's something that hits you and strikes you and kind of you feel it, I want you to be able to say it if it's really something that gets to you. So those two topics are going to go together. And it's a pretty meaty topic. So it's Prince and his use of drugs and Kirk Johnson. Those two things will go together.
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons, and it will make sense when we go into it.
Right.
The second thing is the Black Album Love Sexy controversy that I stirred up again with Gilbert Davidson a couple of weeks ago. When Gilbert Davidson was on the show, he mentioned that Prince was not on drugs. He was just in a euphoric state he had an epiphany, and he was just in a much better place. He felt like he had direction. He felt like he had purpose. And that's the reason why he was just like, man, the Black Album just doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. I need to just do this whole thing. And now I know what I want. And he just and he's so passionate about music that's kind of how he was. However, you have the alternate camp of Kat and Susan Rogers and some other people that are going, yeah, he was high. So we want to talk a little bit about that again. We'll talk a little bit about that Black Album Love Sexy controversy. So again, I guess that kind of feeds into the drug thing, but I want to kind of separate it out. While I did have that one third bullet that you see there, I'm not. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of killed that.
Yeah.
I just removed that, and obviously any topics that you have that you would like for me to talk about, feel free to say, oh, but why don't you talk about this and the other? Because I do actually have a couple other things while you guys are making up your mind what you want me to talk about. I do have a couple of things that I'm going to be throwing in there. We're going to talk about some news stuff. I want to show you guys a couple of shirts that I got from Mrs. Wellington's warehouse that are badass. I want to show them to you.
Yeah.
And then also the last topic. So there's 3 topics. The third topic is, and it's going to be up for debate whether or not I talk about it, but
Right.
I might discuss a diatribe or a rant from someone that occurred, I guess it was late last week, that fell just short of mentioning me by name.
Right.
And I may address it. Although no one reached out to me personally. So maybe folks aren't putting it together. So that's kind of why I'm on the fence. But there were some comments made about me that kind of annoyed me. And I feel like talking about it will just give that person attention that they desperately crave,
Right.
which is why they did that post. But decisions.
Yeah. And you know what? Realistically, I have some comments I want to make, but I'm going to hold them until we actually get on the subject. You know what I mean? Like, because I have some feelings about this. So when we're in there and in the meat of it, then I'll start talking.
I don't know. It is what it is.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a shock night. And one of the things I will say when we go into the topic of Prince and drug use, one things that I will preface this with is that years ago, I want to say about 6 years ago. 6 years ago? It's been about 5 or 6 years ago. I had a full show that talked about Prince's death and talked about all the mystery of Prince's death. Matter of fact, I think if you search on Google for Funkatopia mystery of Prince's death, I think is how I named it. I did a full show on all the speculation, everything that, people are saying, all the hoo-ha, all the details and blah, 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 blah. And I said in that show, years ago, I said, I'm not going to talk about this topic again until there's something new that comes in.
Right.
There is nothing new that's come in, but with the release of the TMZ special, I kind of feel like some things just kind of need to be sifted out.
Right.
I just, so it is what it is. And so I kind of want to call some things out, and there's probably some pieces that I am not aware of, but the pieces that I am aware of are it's not just hearsay. It's not just, oh, so-and-so said something and someone said something. The pieces that I am aware of are the ones that are documented from the Minnesota law authorities or whatever. What's there. I literally looked and read through the entire document that that Minnesota posted. I mean, I went through the whole friggin' thing. Matter of fact, let me see if I can post this here. That's a document that I went. That is from Carver, Minnesota. That whole Carver County, whatever. That's it. That's everything that they have. And I read it all, and I was just like, "Am I missing something? Am I missing something?"
Right.
So, anyways, we're going to talk about it, and I know that's a super touchy subject. Oh my God, I know this is a super touchy subject. Whenever we talk about Prince's death, there was two actually three very, very distinct camps. And I'm not going to. I don't think I want to go into this right now because I want to talk about some lighter things before we go into this. But the three very distinct camps are, he overdosed on drugs. Whoops. It happened. It's nothing can change.
Right.
2, somebody needs to be held accountable. There's somebody to blame for this. And 3, he was murdered. Those are the three camps. And let me tell you, every single one of those camps seems to have some very distinct, seems to have proof or some type of, or is convinced. You cannot convince them otherwise. That goes beyond what is in the official legal documents. And I know that there's some other stuff that's going on in the background that they're still working with. Chaz, if you're here, I know Chaz comes in and sees the show, but Chaz is, oh yeah. So yeah, Movie Buff brings up a good point. There's also a fourth camp that's right. There is. That insinuates suicide.
Right.
See, and see, all this stuff really rubs Prince fans the wrong way. It's just no matter where you settle, where the dust settles at, everybody is. It doesn't change anything. It just doesn't change anything. However, if there is somebody that is ultimately responsible for the counterfeit stuff, we'll talk more about it in details. But I'm going to let you guys decide. I'm going to let you guys decide what you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about Prince and the drug stuff, which is going to tie in with the Kirk Johnson stuff as well, which is going to go into what we were just talking about a little bit. We were just kind of touching on. Or do you want to talk about the Black Album Love Sexy debacle, which is a kind of a little bit of a short topic. It's pretty quick. Or do you want to talk about people giving me grief, people trying to call me out. So which one do you want to talk about? And while you're deciding, Jeff Paige, if you want to kind of keep an eye on which topic we're going to kind of break into first, we'll start there. But let's talk a little bit about first off, when I want to add this here, because when I created the show doc for today, this is what we affectionately refer to the show as Free for All. And I created this. Well, first, it's got two different things. It's got this new logo, this new Funkatopia logo that I've kind of been working on because I want to come up with something that's more horizontal, that doesn't take up more space height wise. So that's the reason why that Funkatopia part. So the vinyl is still in the logo. So it's, as you can see, I'm sorry for those people who may be listening on the app. Actually, there's nobody listening on the app because I did not go live on the app. I'm gonna have to fix that right now. So if you're wanting to listen on the app, I am sorry. I'm fixing that right now. Hold on a second. Give me a minute. All right, we are live. We are live on the Funked Up app. I am so sorry, guys. This is twice now that I have let you guys know. So it's like this has got to be on our checklist, is to make sure that the Funked Up app, we are going live on the Funked Up app. So now you guys can listen to the Funked Up app. So if you got to go out into the car, you can continue listening for the audio version. Right. But for you visual folks, I've got the free for all now. Here's one of the things that I thought was funny about this free for all thing here. I spent like an hour on that number 4. Incorporate just the number 4 part. No one commented. And I don't think there's anything to comment. I don't think anybody would say, hey, that 4 kind of also incorporates Prince's symbol. I think that's kind of slick. I don't know that I expected anybody to say anything, but maybe I did. I think maybe subconsciously I thought somebody's going to say something because it doesn't look like the logo at all, but you can see it once you notice it.
Yeah,
I thought it was slick. No,
yeah.
I just don't think anybody noticed. Just enough for folks to pick up on it, but not enough to get in trouble. You know?
I don't know, man. I look at it. I think it's pretty obvious, and there's nothing slick about it to me. I think it's
well, maybe it's not. Yeah, I don't
like
think it is. I think the arrow kind of gives it away.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, and and hopefully no one will complain later when they finally see it or something. But I mean, I like it. I think it works, and I can't see why anyone would complain about that.
No, I just it is what it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's cool. It is. So I also wanted to share. Okay, since we want to focus in on that new logo. That is the new logo. As you can see, it's got the vinyl in the bottom of the U. It's got the vinyl on the O and the P as well. And of course, I put some purple dots in inside the O and on top of the I. And so a couple people are not happy about it. Cammie is not happy about it. I know a couple people, when I posted it, I said thoughts, and everybody was like, no. So some people like it. Some people like it. Andre's like, don't touch perfection. Yeah, and I think, for those who don't really know what the new logo or what the old logo is, you can't think about it. This is our existing logo.
Right.
The existing logo has the vinyl on the bottom, and an afro on the top with a afro pick. And the reason why afro pick, maybe there's something in the middle where I use the text from the new logo where the text is in the middle here.
Yeah.
The reason for the change is that this logo is square, which causes issues sometimes on the website because it just kind of pushes the content down the page. The horizontal approach makes that less of a problem. So maybe if we just cut the afro off the top, just keep Funkatopia and the vinyl on the bottom. I mean, the afro itself has like a Questlove So Def feel. So that's the reason why I kind of wanted to steer away from it. But the reasoning for it in the beginning was because, bell bottoms and afros and afro picks were synonymous with funk music. And if you look up funk music and then you go to the images section, that's what you see. Right. And mirror balls and things like that. So, and that was the only thing that would translate into this logo. So, but I wanted the logo to speak to what we're doing. That's essentially what I wanted.
Yeah. I think the old one, I think the old one, the new one. So let me get this right. The new one, it's just has this disco electric company vibe to it. I'm not sure how I feel, but I looked at it and the first thing I thought was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was just like,
no, you gotta do it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, did you know that was the Pointer Sisters doing that?
I did not. I
did not know that either. And it's the Pointer Sisters, right? It was the Pointer Sisters that did the Sesame Street pinball machine song, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was like, really? I did not know that.
Wow. But that's what it makes me think of. It just makes me think old like that.
Well, and that's the era.
Right.
That is the era.
Yeah.
And I think this logo kind of captures it. So maybe it's a merging of this one. Maybe it's this Funkatopia on top of that vinyl where it says Funkatopia right now. Maybe that's
right. Somehow have them together. And I see nothing wrong with shifting things around, maybe playing with removing the pick. And like you said, it speaks to what we're doing.
I remember when I interviewed Mother's Finest and I had this as a logo. And when I walked in the room, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, I thought you were black." I was like, "You looked at the logo and you made an assumption." I was like, "Okay,
right,
it's okay, it's fine." But by the end of the interview, everybody was, everybody was fine.
What's sad about that is everyone who hears me and talks to me on the phone, they think the exact opposite.
I could see that. I could see that.
What you mean? Not.
All right. So so we got just a couple. We got like one more thing to talk. Yeah, we got one more thing to talk about here, and then I'm going to let you guys decide where we're going to go with this. The one more thing to talk about is Rihanna. Rihanna has been named as the Super Bowl halftime performer this year, which I'm not sure I understand.
Well,
Good performer. She has some good tracks, good songs. I think she puts on a good show. She hasn't released an album in 6 years. And 2016 was her last release. And the last time that she even performed publicly was in 2018. So, and if I remember correctly, it's a job that she turned down before. And when they offered a tour when she was in her heyday, when she was, she was supposedly wanting to show solidarity with Colin Kaepernick, who,
right.
for those who don't keep up with sports, the ex-49ers quarterback who knelt during the national anthem at the football game to protest police brutality. And then who seemed to be quietly, effectively blackballed by the NFL, like nobody would give him a job. But anyway, so here we are years later, and now she's going to do it. But she doesn't have any new music. She's maybe a new album
one coming out. Maybe something's coming out. She's about to drop an album.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Still, I mean, can anyone do a better halftime game than Prince did? No,
that's not a fair question.
No, it's not. No, and it can't be worse than some of the ones we've seen recently, right? It's just
right. No, I think she'll do a great job. I love watching Rihanna. I think she does a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I've not seen anything that was like, what was that from her?
Yeah, Claire makes a good point. We are running out of people to do the halftime show for real. Yeah, I mean, there's so many classic folks. I mean, have the Rolling Stones done a halftime show? They have, haven't they?
Long time ago, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you still need to stick with the classics. I think if you get some of these flash in the pans, not that Rihanna's a flash in the pan, but
no, she's not.
I mean, I kind of feel like The Weeknd kind of is. I mean, even though he's had two very, very insanely successful albums back to back.
Right.
If you're going to do Rihanna, why don't you do Drake, or, why don't you do somebody that's had a little bit of consistency over the past, 10 years. I don't know.
Well, they're breaking up male, female, they've had so there's someone else saying my volume's a little bit low.
Is it
going on here? I guess so. No, somebody said it low.
I got you pushed all the way up here, so you have to do it yourself.
I just gotta lean into it.
Lean in.
Just
lean back. Lean in. Lean back. All right. I did want to show you guys a couple of things too before we get all into this. Obviously, you guys see I'm wearing a Blue October shirt today. For those who don't know who Blue October is, great rock and roll band. Yes, I listen to music other than Prince, believe it or not, very rarely. But Blue October is a great, great band, and they're a great band, and you should check them out. But I was going to wear my MPG Music Club shirt, but it's in the washer, so it didn't. But because I still wanted to keep on pushing Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse, which is an auction place for Prince stuff. And I mean, if you like Prince gear, like official Prince gear, like stuff that people have bought on the tour, that acquired it from official places, not homemade stuff, this actual official Prince gear. I've got this really cool auction house called Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse. You can go to it on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and search for Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse, MRS Wellington's Warehouse. And I brought a couple of shirts to show you guys that I got from Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse. The first one is a crew shirt. I was going to wear this because it says crew on the front, but on the back, it has the Jam of the Year. It's going to go Jam of the Year, World Tour 97-98. Very, very cool shirt.
That's cool. Very,
very awesome. And the thing I like about this auction is that I know that there's other auctions that are out there, but the difference is that it's not, 500 people bidding this thing up to like $1 gazillion. It's like you can get stuff for, reasonably priced. And it's really, really cool. And here's one of my piece de resistance. I intentionally got it in a large because it's going to be my prize to myself as I continue to lose weight. But it's artificial age, baby.
Ah, sweet.
Yes. And
Wow.
it's very, very cool. It's got the it's a plectrum electrum.
Okay, I like that. That's
Yeah.
Now that's really cool.
Yeah, I love this shirt. This is
Yeah.
very, very shirt. I may force myself into it.
Hey, can you
Why
just
not?
put it over to the so I can take it? Just hand it over.
Oh yeah, sure. Here you go.
There we go. If I could pull back his shirt, it'd be hilarious.
And I showed this to you guys last week. This is the Time Pandemonium album. This is what was sent to some of the radio stations, the Times Pandemonium album that actually has the clock and actually it actually has the CD and the book and everything in here. That was another thing I won at auctions, the Times Pandemonium CD. But yeah, you want a shot at some really, really cool stuff. Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse. Check it out. It's really, really
Sweet.
cool. And right now they got an auction going on for our dearly departed Wally Safford, his book. And somehow Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse has a hardcover version of it. I didn't even know that I thought it was just ebook and paperback. I didn't know there was a hardcover, but there's an auction for the Wally Safford's book that's going on right now.
Wow.
But you got to join. You got to go Mrs. Wellington's Warehouse and then say join group, and then you'll be approved and check it out.
Sweet.
You gotta do it.
All I've got is this black shirt. Sorry. That's it. Nothing fancy funky. That's it. I keep it simple most of the time.
I don't even think that oh, that's a good question. Ben asked, will the Time reunite and do Umbrella with her again?
Ooh.
That's a good, that might be a possibility.
Ooh. Well,
I
maybe
mean,
part of the
Morrison
time,
is
maybe.
going to be on tour, on his final tour, on his retirement thing. I took that off of the list too, because we kind of talked about it a little bit before. Heidi says Rolling Stones were 2006. So yeah. No,
Okay.
I had to agree, Missy. No one will ever come close to Pete's halftime show. Of course, I have seen arguments going on online that said that Michael Jackson's was way better than Prince's, and I'm just like, okay, well,
I mean,
we all
again,
know
you're
where
gonna have
our
your separate
audience
camps.
stands.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And that's okay. They're allowed to believe that too.
right, sure are. Do you have one of those switches on the microphone that kicks you up? The minus.
Am I
The
too
plus-
low?
Well, it seems like I can hear you fine because I'm wearing headphones, but I'm looking at your level and I'm thinking you might be a little bit too low.
All right.
So-
Is that better?
Yes, that's definitely better.
Cool. And,
All right.
and again, it's a really good mic. So if I lean a little bit, then I'm far away.
Yeah. you're-
It blocks
Perfect.
everything out.
All right, so we're watching the. Thank you, Trish. At least I have some kind of proof that Blue October is great. All right, so let's do. All right,
Well,
so
I saw
where are
number
we-
3 the most.
Number 3 was the one that had the most, because
I saw
it seemed like when we started talking about Prince and drug use, like the
There were a
whole
lot of comments.
whole
Yeah.
thing just lit up.
Well, let's do it.
All right, so let's do it. All right, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna start it off by this is gonna be kind of a 3-part series, a 3-part segment here, because we're gonna be talking about the TMZ special. We'll talk about the TMZ special here a little bit, and also that we're going to talk about. Then we'll talk about Kirk Johnson, and then the Kirk Johnson thing is kind of where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the drug stuff, just to kind of clarify, because and let's be real clear before I start into this conversation. As I mentioned earlier, I said before earlier on a show about 5 or 6 years ago, shortly after he passed, not shortly after, probably about 6 months after he passed, that I didn't want to talk about this topic again until something new came up. But I kind of feel like, that we kind of need to bring this up again, just because of just the environment and how this TMZ special, I think, kind of kicked everything back into gear again. And this is, if you have Tubi, TUBI, it is on here now. Actually, surprisingly enough, when you pull up Tubi, which is free, by the way.
Mhm.
It's not like it's a brand new, but it's not on their like top thing. You got to search for it.
Right.
And when you search for it, the show is called TMZ Presents Prince Fatal Secret. Prince, that's just a bad title, isn't it? Prince Fatal Secrets. It could be Prince's. I guess I just want to say Prince Fatal Secrets. I think that's what
Fatal Secrets.
Fatal Secrets. Anyways, so I think, all right. So the TMZ special came out, and while it did a decent job, once you watch the special, and you get past this friggin' intro, it was interesting to see how they decided when to announce that Prince had passed and everything that they went through, like when the whole shenanigans were going through with them verifying whether or not Prince had passed, everything that was happening. And, you know, Harvey and Charles, I guess the guy with the dreads, Charles actually had quite a lot to say about it in the special, because he was like, he didn't really want to announce it. Is kind of the vibe I got. He was the one who had to actually push the button to publish it, but he said after he published it, he just broke down. He said he had to leave the newsroom, and he like went off and he was like crying for a while. So he was like really, really devastated by it. Like most of us were. A lot of us were devastated by this whole thing. But anyways, they definitely must have made the intro for this special before they edited down the show and kind of tamed down the verbiage, you know, because the show itself, the special itself is not bad. Everything's very, very factual. Everything's kind of, you know, going through the rigmarole of everything that they were talking about. But the intro is just, it's almost kind of clickbait. I mean, I'm going to play the first 45 seconds or so of the intro, and I want you to watch this and see if you catch the two druggy references in the first 30 seconds to a minute of this show. In the first 30 seconds, they used the term dope sick, and they flat out call Prince a drug addict before 1 minute has even passed. So I think that's, if you watched it and you saw that part, it's just, you know, it is what it is. So I also want to talk a little bit about the fact that I had kind of had to step back from my emotions on this and kind of analyze this from the outside in. But I do want to share it and just kind of see what you guys think. And let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to pull up this window and see if we can do it here. You see and hear it fine?
We broke a story that shook the world.
This has got to be some kind of publicity stunt.
I didn't believe it. He was just here.
But it was true. Prince was dead in his mansion.
At the end of the day, he's alone in an elevator. That killed.
April 21st, 2016, Prince became the latest victim of a dope-sick nation.
It's a dope sick reference.
He got the Vicodin pills, and it was laced with fentanyl.
Turns out Prince became a drug addict after suffering a terrible injury.
There's a drug addict reference.
Hard to imagine because of his public image.
He scorned people who took recreation.
So I'm stopping it there because it's been 47 seconds. Were you able to hear that? You hear the audio? I can hear you now. I think you're muted.
Oh, my fault. I might have muted.
47 seconds. In 47 seconds, they dope sick and drug addict.
Right.
They said Prince had become a drug addict. I mean, It's just okay. So, all right. So
it's total clickbait. It's total.
Absolutely.
Let's throw these words in right away because this is a part of the headline that's starting topic. So everybody goes, "What?
Wow, he was a drug addict. I gotta watch this. See what happened."
You know, you show the video, and it's like, look at like they're trying to, oh, he fell on stage because of drugs. You know, that's exactly why they did that last image, you know, of him on the stage falling or sliding. And you know what I mean? It's, come on.
Yeah, the whole thing. Anyways, so this kind of sparked the whole conversation again. But if you watch the actual special, if you can get past this intro, which lasts about a minute, and then they actually go into it, they're very, very respectful of the whole thing. But it doesn't start out that way. I mean, they flat out said Prince had become a drug addict. That was the exact verbiage that they used. So this was something I was initially mad at, but I had to be realistic as I started going through some of the details of what they found as part of this investigation.
Right.
Because ultimately, I was just curious as to what folks thought that saw it. So did you get an opportunity to see this special at all?
Nope, didn't watch it. No interest. Won't watch it. Don't care.
I mean, care,
but
did anybody else watch it? Yeah. So Catherine said, I didn't watch it. I just couldn't. I get it.
Yeah.
Movie buff seems to be latched into the suicide things that those who covered up his suicide want you to think Prince was an addict. So again, you got multiple camps here that think very, very vastly different things.
Right.
Very
strongly. Like they're,
yeah.
And so if you're in this forum with us right now, you're on the show, watching the show and texting, just remember your opinion is just as right as the other person's opinion, whether you're wrong or not. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to argue with each other about which one is the correct one in this tonight.
Right. Well, and so here's the other thing too. You guys are well aware of the environment that you are in right now with Funkatopia Live. Okay. So, and this is not in my script at all, but I wanted to make sure that we're very, very clear on this. You are watching Funkatopia Live with Mr. Christopher and Jeff Paige, who both are Prince fanatics. You are very, very well aware of Funkatopia and everything that we do in order to honor and keep his legacy alive. Go to great lengths to make sure that we preserve Prince's legacy. So nothing I'm going to say here is going to be negative. Don't expect me to say anything for shock value or anything, but I wanted to, because that's not what we do here. I'm sure there's other shows that would be more than happy to do it, like TMZ. But it's a very, very different thing. So I want to talk a little bit more about this within context, because there is no doubt, nobody here can deny he died from drug use. And the investigation showed it was an ongoing issue. So I want to make sure this is also clear. I'm trying to think about how to present this without people getting their panties in a bunch. So let me segue. This is going to kind of be weird since we're kind of already on this path, but let me segue into the belated happy birthday of Kirk Johnson, because Kirk Johnson seems to be a person of interest in a lot of things. Matter of fact, even the investigation, when all shook out, he was one of the people that were standing there, but there's no, the problem is that, nobody that knows Kirk believes for a minute that he had anything to do with this.
Right.
That knows Kirk personally.
Right.
We know something happened. Obviously, there was some weird things that happened.
Clearly.
But Kirk is one of these cats that's just very, very polarizing, and he was, one of the active folks present during his final hours and those last pharmacy runs. So he's the easiest scapegoat for many folks.
Absolutely.
But I know that people love to pile on Kirk whenever they get a chance. Even when I was wishing him a happy birthday on Facebook, everybody was just like, pile on. He's blah, 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 murderer, whatever they're saying. It's ridiculous. You guys need to pause on some of this. Even if you can even help yourself, you need to pause on this for a minute. There was a 2-year I'll get to this in a second. Let me just go down the bullet points here. There was a 2-year investigation, and there was no wrongdoing by Kirk Johnson, and that was proven by the evidence that was investigated and documented. I know I'm not even going to bother even to look on this side of what's going on in the chat room. You can keep an eye on that because I know our people are like, oh, well, there's this and there's that.
Yeah.
All that stuff is hearsay, because if there was legit proof that he had anything to do with any of this, it would be in that document. And I think I put, if you guys want to comb through that document, you can comb through that document. Here's the document. Here's the document right there. That is the final investigation of the document. I'm not saying it's over. I'm saying as far as Carver County is concerned,
there's your details.
It's done. No wrongdoing by Kirk is done.
Right.
So I'm going to go down a rabbit hole, even though I don't want to, but this ties into the TMZ thing. As I mentioned, again, 5 years ago on the show, I said I wouldn't discuss Prince's death again unless something big came up, and nothing new has happened, and it probably won't. And we are over 6 years removed.
Right.
Most of the evidence to anything contrary, I mean, it has to be gone at this point, right? I mean, it's just, whatever. So when TMZ opened their show calling Prince a drug addict, I had to consider what they were analyzing that kind of led them to kind of be so flippant and brazen with that term. Just to use it so loosely, like it's factual, just kind of like, hey, he's a drug addict. And some people emailed me and texted me and asked my opinion, which forced me to look into some of the details. So I looked into some of the details, part of this being the document, some of the other stuff that was going on. So I wanted to take a moment to clear the air on this. Bye. Mainly because when people call Prince a drug addict, I personally get mad, just because I'm obviously a Prince fanatic. So it really annoys me, because these are the same people that ask me, isn't Prince gay?
Right.
I'm like, even if he was, which he isn't, what does it matter? So now I got to stop listening to Sam Smith and Elton John and Queen and George Michael. I got to stop listening to all these people because of what their sexual preferences. That kind of stuff just annoys me.
So
but it's this shallow, well, I believe what I'm told, and this is what they're saying, so this is what I'm going with, and I'm barreling through. Anyway, no, Prince is not gay, not that it matters, and no, he wasn't a drug addict for most of his life.
Right. I mean,
okay, so this is where we're on thin ice here. When you look back, I mean, he even fired band members for doing drugs. I mean, he lived a pretty strict life.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it came to recreational drugs, as far as we know, and what we've heard repeatedly from all of his band members. I mean, So let's look at the facts under the guise of TMZ's claims, and also how Kirk ties into this, since we're here. To kind of, I not really play like a devil's advocate for Kirk, but I'm kind of playing devil's advocate for Kirk here for a second, for a minute.
Absolutely.
Because I kind of feel like this man has been put through the ringer. I kind of feel like, anyways, here's the facts. Prince died because he took fentanyl pills when he thought he was taking Vicodin. Or Vicodin pills that were laced with fentanyl or had fentanyl, whatever the final analysis was. The final analysis was there was a lot of fentanyl in the system. He took fentanyl. And he thought he was taking Vicodin. Now, even if you believe that there was foul play here and that they were intentionally placed there, we're going to stay on the playing field of facts in front of us right now. The evidence is proven by the empty pill bottles showing that Prince had been actively taking pain pills for years. Let's be clear, not just the last few weeks of his life, years. Okay. Okay. I'm going to put up a picture here. This is a picture of what Vicodin looks like. They're stamped with this Watson 853 on them.
And let me just jump in real quick. the conversation, the thing about the difference between pills and treating pills and taking pain medication for pills and becoming a drug addict, it is a drug, and you become addicted, and the doctors, everybody knows that pain meds are highly addictive. So go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't separate it and say, well, he was taking it for pain, he's not an addict, or he didn't become a drug addict. Well, if you become addicted to what you're taking for your treatment of pain, you're an addict, and you have to go through stuff to get cleared and to stop taking it, and you have to work your wean off of it. Those are all addicts. So unfortunately, dependent, I know I've heard the dependency versus addict, and I get we're trying to get into the semantics of the word, but dependency on something becomes addicted to something. It becomes the same thing. You need to have it, you're an addict. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a harder word.
The reality of it is, I have a herniated degenerative disc in my lower back. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I have a really bad back problem. And I have to take tramadol for it. They've tried to give me more powerful stuff, but I've turned down the more powerful stuff. They've tried to give me all kinds of things that, or like the Lortabs and all that stuff. They've tried to give me some of the massive drugs, and I didn't want any of that stuff. And I kind of, found the lowest possible thing that I could get that would alleviate the pain and allow me to live a normal life, which was tramadol and, or Ultram, or whatever the, a generic name is. But there are some days where I may not be feeling any pain, and I'm just kind of going about my day, and I kind of go to the gym or whatever. And then all of a sudden I think, oh my gosh, I didn't take my pill this morning. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling some sort of way, like, oh my gosh, I need to take my pill. I need to take my pill now. And my brain starts, flipping out, like I'm going to be really uncomfortable here in a minute.
Right.
That's also, even though I'm not addicted to it, it's your brain sending you these signals that you got to have this. You got to have this.
Oh, absolutely.
And so to kind of get back to this, though, what the picture that you're looking at here, I'm going to take it down because I'm just kind of tired of looking at it. But this is it's me that I put it up, so I need to take it down. But this Watson 853 is what Vicodin looks like. So let's get back to the story here, because here's the thing. Prince had 15 of them in his dressing room. Not that big of a deal. 15. Meh. Whatever. Okay. Maybe take a couple, maybe one a day or a couple a day to get you through whatever. But there's more. And are you ready? He had 64 and a half of them in a Bayer bottle, Bayer, the ibuprofen. Is that ibuprofen or whatever it is? But it's an aspirin bottle. 64 of these Vicodin tablets in a Bayer bottle. And wait, there's more. He also had 20 and a half of them in an Advil bottle on his nightstand next to his bed. Okay. So between 64, 84, 85, plus the 15 that he had, 100. That's 100. That's literally 100 pills that he had of Vicodin pills.
Right.
No pharmacy on the planet is going to give you 100 Vicodin pills all at one time.
Right. At all.
It's just,
anywhere.
it's not.
They'll
give it to you in little. When I run out of tramadol, like a day early or something, they say, y'all, you got to wait. You got to wait. Sorry. You're just going to have to load up on Excedrin or something, son, because we're not giving this to you. And this is tramadol. Tramadol is like, here's aspirin, and then there's tramadol. This is Vicodin. This is like, it's just, so we're talking about Prince had in his possession, between his dressing room and the Bayer bottle and the Advil bottle, 100 Vicodin pills.
Mm-hmm.
The man had an issue with pain pills, which are drugs. Now, here comes the problem. Some of that Vicodin was counterfeit and laced with fentanyl, and it killed him days later. But before we get ahead of ourselves, before they even left for Atlanta to come to the concert here in Atlanta, the 2 shows they did here, Kirk Johnson reached out to help Prince with this issue by contacting Dr. Schulenberg, who treated Prince and gave him 2 drugs in Kirk's name for Prince. This is when people start spiraling down this hole. Oh, Kirk was getting drugs for Prince.
Right.
One of those drugs was vitamin D, and the other drug was a drug for nausea.
Right.
So let's stop that part of it. That's the first thing. Now, however, then right before leaving for Atlanta, that same doctor also prescribed Prince Percocet when Prince, through Kirk, said that he had thrown out his back moving equipment and needed some pain pills. My guess, if you're putting 1 and 1 together, is that Kirk was going to a different pharmacy, because if you look at the labels, there's CVS on one and there's Walgreens on the other. And one knew that he had all these Vicodin pills, or however many Vicodin pills that they had actually distributed to him. And the other one was just like, probably didn't know anything. Or because of the fact they put it in Kirk's name, it's just, oh, Percocet, he is not doing anything else. Because there's no pharmacy on the planet that would give him Percocet and Vicodin to the same person. This is not going to happen.
Right.
Because there's a bunch of things and processes and systems in place that stop that kind of stuff. So
Correct.
Those are the pills that were found in Prince's possession when they had to make that emergency landing coming back from the Atlanta shows. And it was assumed that he somehow may have taken one of those counterfeit Vicodin pills, which are probably being, stored somewhere else, which again, those were probably the ones that were laced with fentanyl. And this is where some of those suicide people come into play, and they're just like, oh, he was trying to do it on the plane back, and Judith Hill ruined it. I think I've heard every single variation of these stories. But anyways, after that happened, Kirk started freaking out, because this was his friend and he was doing his job, not only as a bodyguard and a musician, in part of his band, but also literally this is his boss. He's waiting on Prince hand and foot, like 24/7, getting him whatever he needs. He needs a McMuffin. He goes get it. It's just like whatever. When Prince tells him to jump, he just jumps. And I
don't forget that.
I don't think anybody else that was in this would have been in the same situation if they weren't aware of the issue. Wouldn't have done the same.
Correct.
When he said jump, you say, how high? What do you need?
Right. And let's not take this wrong, but everybody, you've heard enough of our interviews with these people who've been around Prince. Nobody said no to Prince, except Gilbert.
Well, yeah, Gilbert said no.
So, let's be realistic. He was the boss. And when the boss says, this is what I want, you're either going to get it or he's no longer your boss. So that's all to it.
Right. And when Kirk realized that this was getting out of control, it was Kirk that contacted Dr. Schulenberg to get him intervention.
Right.
It was just like, there's something going on. There's a problem. And maybe, there's people said, oh, he knew where that stuff came from. Who who you don't know. Who knows that?
Right.
And so they treated him, and they made arrangements to get him treated by Dr. Kornfeld to save his life. But instead of Kornfeld dropping everything and coming out to save and help him, he was probably helping a golfer buddy or something.
Right. He
sent his son, who was not a doctor. Matter of fact, he was a med school applicant. You can watch that in the TMZ. He wasn't even in med school yet. He was an applicant. So the reality is that everyone is looking for a scapegoat in this scenario. And on top of that, they sent him a day late.
Right.
So everyone is looking for a scapegoat, someone to blame for Prince's death. And ultimately, no matter how it went down, unless you unless you're settling on the suicide side of things, people need to realize that Prince made a mistake.
Right.
He either stored the pills in the wrong place, he either acquired the pills, or he didn't do his research to figure out where those pills were acquired from that he was taking. Either way, it cost him his life. This situation is not like Michael Jackson, where he was, he was unconscious and it was being administered to him while he was lying on the floor. This is totally different.
That is different.
So now, is there more to this story? Of course there is. Prince's cousin Chaz Smith, who was a friend of mine and probably here, he's probably in here. I have not been watching the chat area, but Chaz is probably here. Has been tirelessly digging.
Right.
Chaz is still involved. He actually runs, many of you probably know this, he's running an organization called Justice for Cuz, C-U-Z, because he's trying to get to the bottom of this, and I can't say anything. He's still involved with the investigation, and he told me that it's still progressing.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be speaking at the Hennepin County, if you guys live up in Minnesota, he's going to be speaking at the Hennepin County Library with Dr. Elliot Powell from the University of Minnesota at the Pollard Auditorium on October 22nd. So later on next month, about a month from now, he's going to be speaking. So you guys want the latest and greatest of what's happening on this issue, because very, very clearly he is convinced there was foul play, and he has been very vocal about it. Matter of fact, on the 5-year anniversary of Prince's death, when Funkatopia went down to Minneapolis, or down to Chanhassen, I had a candlelight vigil right across from Paisley Park, and we had a whole candlelight vigil, and like tons of people showed up. The mayor of Chanhassen came and he spoke, and Chaz came and he spoke. So all these people came and spoke. And anyways, even when Chaz and I had this conversation at dinner a few years back, until whatever that is that he knows is out in the open, there's nothing.
Right.
No one was there with Prince. Could there have been people that have been previously exonerated and proved innocent that may have been complicit in the cause of Prince's death? Maybe. But again, until that comes out, you can't publicly execute a man. Sorry, there's a gnat or something. You publicly execute a man or a woman until they're found guilty.
Right.
If Kirk was guilty, you can everything I'm hearing, it's like, well, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said this. Here's what I can tell you. I heard from someone when I was up in Minneapolis, it's like a few times ago. Someone very close to the situation said that they felt confident that they know where those counterfeit pills came from. That someone at the celebration event unveiled, let me say that again. Someone at the celebration that was at the event unveiled an entire story and was telling folks, not just me, but other people that were there, that they were sitting at a table at the NPG Music Club, and someone that was present that was known for being a distributor was present at the table. This is when Prince was alive. So when Prince was alive, there was like a bunch of people that were sitting around a table, and one of them was like a known drug dealer, and that's where the drugs came from.
Let's see.
Okay. So if you know that, why haven't you gone to the authorities? If you suspect something like that happened, and you can get to the bottom of adding more to the story, then do it. God forbid, friggin' go out and do it. Let's get to the bottom of this, because, I didn't want to be tugged back into this conversation that I said I wouldn't do, but so this is where it ends. Okay. We will revisit this when more things start to come out, if they come out. But the reality of it is that it's been over 6 years. Obviously, Chaz is still actively involved in this, and he sends me updates every now and then. But I tell him the same thing. It's like he was like, when it's something that's this big, it takes time, and it's like, okay, All right, I get that, but it's been 6 years, and you know, anyways, y'all need to leave folks alone until there's something there, until there's something that's concrete. If there was proof that anyone had committed a crime that led to Prince's death, they would be in jail right now. So until things come out, you do not know anything about guilt in the situation. Doesn't matter who you talk to or who you heard from. If you heard something different from somebody else, then that person should go to the authorities.
Exactly.
Or you should go to the authorities and said, I heard this, so that they can actually follow through and see what that is. Because if you know the truth about the of a situation, why are you sitting on it? Let's get to the bottom of it, because, again, you're only making yourself mad. Oh, I'm never gonna talk to Kirk again. I'm never gonna be. It's like, well, why? Yeah, anyways, that anger may be warranted in the future. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone will be named or proven guilty that you never saw coming, but it is what it is. All right. Okay. I will look in this on the chat room.
The bottom line is it's all, again, conspiracy theory. We're going back into that path using that played term, tired of hearing it, but it is a theory, and we can all have our own working theories. But at the end of the day, we all know some people said some great things. I was watching the chat while you were talking, and they're talking about, people have taken medications and they didn't become addicted, and this and that and this and all these scenarios, and every one of them is valid, because not everyone gets hooked on something, and not everyone gets in a situation where they take something they didn't know they were taking. I mean, there's just too many variables involved for us to just say this is what it is. Plus, the people involved, they're put in situations, and let's just think about the industry as a whole. There's a lot of people that are taking and have the hookup and are getting extra things they shouldn't have. It's just the way it is. They haven't died yet, So, that's it.
So that's part of us protecting, also supporting Prince's legacy, is because of the fact that Prince trusted these people. Prince trusted Kirk. Regardless of whether you feel like, he used Kirk as a, I don't know, as a conduit for his drug. I don't know. I just saw a comment on here. I'm not going to call the person out, but I just saw a comment here saying that Sheila E. and Sheila E. and them
covered
and
up
Kirk and Phaedra Ellis shredded documents and deleted documents to cover up suicide. Where did you hear that? How do you know? What's your proof that happened?
Right.
I mean, it's just the types of things I'm talking about. I don't want to, post your comment up there just because of the fact that I don't want people to give a shit, but because the reality of it is that where is the proof that happened? Where is the proof that was what occurred? That did somebody see it? Is anybody taking pictures, and was anybody participating? Who participated?
Right.
Who's, because obviously if Kirk and Sheila and all those folks shredded the documents, they would have kept that completely 100% in secrecy. So in order for you to know about that, someone must have unveiled that fact or that rumor. And so who is that person? Whoever that person is needs to go to the police and say, I saw this happen. I saw them shredding documents. It happened on this day. But once again, here we are 6 years removed from this. And, it is what it is. All right. So, so let's move on to, and I know you guys feel some sort of way, but I'm trying to kind of bring some normalcy to this, because the reality of it is that people hear things from one source or the other, or just get all bent out of shape. And I have not looked at my phone, but I'm sure there's probably about a dozen texts of people.
Right.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I feel it's okay for people to feel some type of way if that's what they want to feel, but choose your words carefully. You feel some way, even with and without proof of anything, and then you just say it as if. Yeah, I mean, preface something, like this is what I think, or maybe, but I would say leave that alone and wait. And if something else comes out, that's when you can say, I knew it, or not. But until then, I just,
Well,
it's a
because
sad situation. It's all to it.
well, you do have other things too, that kind of speak a little bit to what Movie Buff was saying about the suicide, side of things, because I think Taika was, and just so you know, Taika will be coming on the show. Just so you know. And it will be something we ask her. So just know that that's happening. And here's what I can tell you. I know she made some comments to the effect that Prince had told her, I've done everything I've come here to do. And that's what kind of set people spiraling off on the suicide rumor. So let's put it this way. You can guarantee that will be in the line of questioning. So,
right.
Just so we're clear. So a little bit of feedback on Prince being on, since we're talking about this drug thing, so we can kind of wrap this up with a neat little bow, with a little bit of a humorous slide of things, about Prince being on ecstasy or acid or some type of euphoric drug on the night that he canned the Black Album. I feel compelled to kind of give a little bit of a Reader's Digest version, but so this is going to be like a super Reader's Digest version for those that don't know. Prince created the Black Album. The Black Album is the infamous bootleg album. It's not bootlegged anymore. It was eventually released, but he created this album called the Black Album that was pretty much a funk type of album. And because a lot of people were saying, he's not funky anymore. So that was one of the main reasons why he put together this album. Didn't really have much of a theme to it, but it was still a legendary album. I think mostly because of the fact that there was so much mystery around it. For so much period of time that kind of gave it a little more, there's some great songs in there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, right before it was supposed to be released, after the album had been done and completed and everything was finished, Prince decided to cancel the album due to an epiphany that he had, because he was actually having some spiritual discussions with Ingrid Chavez, who we talked to her about this on the show a couple of times too. And he had an epiphany that Black Album was evil. It was just not, it didn't serve a purpose. And he felt like he needed to release an album that was going to speak to spirituality a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So he released Love Sexy instead. So he canned the Black Album just, I don't remember how many days it was, like a week or something, right?
I think it was like a week. Maybe it was really short.
The record stores had it.
They were ready.
It was ready. It was ready to be distributed, and then it just got canned. And so, and most of a lot of the songs weren't even written yet for Love Sexy. And so, anyways, we did this interview with Gilbert Davison a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much for attending. That was a great interview. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of pieces of that. But Gilbert Davison, for those who did not tune in or have not watched any of the really awesome shortened clips that I provided for you guys, was Prince's bodyguard, tour manager, and president of Paisley Park from 1984 through 1995. So you wanted to talk somebody who was Prince's shadow during that time. That was definitely it. And one topic that came up is that fateful night when Prince canceled the Black Album because he thought it was evil. And Gilbert flat out said that he was not on drugs and that he was just had this spiritual epiphany after hanging out with Ingrid Chavez, who had kind of, just stoked that spirituality in him. Many people believe that Prince was on ecstasy and was tripping. This include, and what's interesting about this is that both of these interviews were on Michael Dean's podcast. Again, what's up, Mike? He interviewed Susan Rogers, who was actually, I think that was one of the first times that I think she's the one that stoked this fire, because Prince had called Susan to come out to produce the new songs for this Love Sexy album after he decided Black Album. But she said that it was in the middle of the night, but she came out anyways because it's Prince and that's what he does. And when she came out, she said that she could tell that he was on something. Now this is from Susan Rogers is a very, very clean cut, very, no nonsense type of individual, just like one of these brainiacs that's just, a master at what she does. And she's just, I doubt she's ever, touched a cigarette. I mean, it's like, this is one of these types of people, I don't know anything about her really, to be totally honest, but I mean, she seems like one of those kind of people when you listen to the interviews and you kind of hear her, her dialect and the way that she kind of addresses things.
Total sweetheart.
But yeah, exactly. So, but she was kind of under the impression that he was under the influence of something. And then, but when I posted that clip from Gilbert, somebody else commented on the video on YouTube and said, Kat has already addressed this. Like, it's factual. Kat said this is what happened. And I was just like, okay. I don't think I watched this Kat interview, and surprisingly enough, it was another Michael Dean interview. And I guess Kat had Michael asked him and said, all right, so there's this rumor about him possibly being on something. And Kat interrupted him before he even got to finish the question. And she said, yes. And he didn't even finish the question. So I don't know that. And Kat said the same thing and said that, that was why that they recorded Alphabet Street and that he used the title, "This is not music, this is a trip." Kat claims that she was the only one there and that Prince, that night, Prince had also called Wendy and Lisa to come in and record. And again, that part of the story kind of seems a little far-fetched because Wendy and Lisa, Wendy and Lisa and Revolution had already been fired at this point. They weren't even a part of the pick. I mean, they were fired before Sign of the Times, and this came out after Sign of the Times. So the Revolution is not even a picture. It seems like after you fire somebody, it's not like if I get fired from a job,
you're not gonna call me for.
I'm not going to call you. Hey man, I got this. I know I fired you, and I released a lot of your work on Sign of the Times. I know you did a lot of work on the songs in Sign of the Times, and I know I released the album, but I didn't give you guys any credit, not even in the album at all. I didn't even mention you guys and thank you nothing. I know I kind of, I know I kind of messed you up there.
Could you do it again?
But I was wondering, I'm kind of in a good place right here tonight, and I'm wondering if you can come out and do and just because I'm feeling some sort of way.
Feeling some sort of way. Come do it again.
Yeah, come on. Come on out. And then on top of that, Kat goes on with the story a little bit more, and she says, and then we were driving, and Gilbert was in the car, and who else did you say was in the car? There was somebody else that was in the car as well. It was like, okay, so if he was high, like you say he was, why did you then get in a car with him and drive in white suburban Minneapolis? Chanhassen around whatever. I mean, I know he's Prince some sort of way, but I mean, if you felt like, I don't know, there was just some holes in the story, I guess. So but we know that Susan Rogers was there because she told the story. We know that Gilbert was there. So there's just some holes in the story. Anyways, so when we did the interview with Gilbert Davidson, people were relieved. I think I kind of felt like I saw in the chat room and also in the chat in the comments on the YouTube video that people were relieved that there was a different narrative than Prince was on drugs that night.
Right.
I mean, because I think it felt more in line with what they believed or wanted to believe about Prince at that point.
Right.
Because during that story about how he was high or tripping, she also started to go into a story about, like she was just like dying to get things out. She was saying, "Oh, and Prince also had some choice words to say about Sheila. I'll tell you about that off the record." And I'm not disparaging her. This is what she said in the interview. It's almost verbatim what she said. I'll if you want me to tell you off the record, I'll tell you what he said about Sheila. Like, what does that have to do with the price of tea in Zimbabwe? I don't understand what's happening here.
Right.
Anyways, so there was like a bunch of things that were kind of going on during that conversation. So ultimately, I'm really kind of curious as to what some people think about, whether he was on ecstasy or whether he wasn't. I do believe that there were some um, notably trippy moments on Lovesexy. I won't deny that there's some really kind of weird, but that's so's Around the World in a Day. I mean, that whole album is full of that weird, kind of Sgt. Pepper's type of feel through as well. But once again, we're back into this hearsay. Excuse me, we're back into this hearsay thing where people would just assume that he was on drugs or whatever. So I don't know. What do you think?
I can tell you the only thing that I absolutely know as far as the Lovesexy album is his nudity was airbrushed. That's that's what I know.
Yeah, for those that didn't tune in for the interview, we found out that Prince was not naked on the Lovesexy album, that he was wearing a pair of yellow shorts. They were short shorts, but he was wearing a pair of yellow shorts, and they took a picture of him. He was half naked and his legs were out, but he was just wearing the yellow shorts, and that the part that where the yellow shorts were airbrushed to make him look nude.
Right.
That was groundbreaking because nobody knew that.
It was amazing to hear.
Of course, there's still people that were on the comments on a YouTube video. People were in the comments were still like, that didn't happen. He was not wearing yellow shorts. So you want to believe that Prince was okay just sitting there naked. I mean, not that he wouldn't be, because it wasn't like he was like a shy, like, who, like, don't look, turn away. It wasn't like, it wasn't like that, but I could more see him in yellow shorts sitting there having this picture taken after a long, because these photo shoots these photo shoots go on for a really long time. So
yeah. Well, we were blown away to hear that, though.
I still am.
Like I said, go ahead.
And I don't know. I was thinking about. I don't know that I have this other than on CD, but I meant to get like really, really get the album cover with like a magnifying glass and
see if you can see the fault. Yeah,
see the airbrushing. See, there's got to be some type of fault in the airbrushing. There's got to be some. I mean, because this is 89, whatever, 88, 89. No, not that late, or is it?
Well, that's why I was saying whoever did it, it's a great sell for Photoshop or whatever. Because whatever they used,
I don't want to be caught with a magnifying glass over the Lovesexy cover.
Staring in that area.
I've got to make sure that
staring at his cash and prizes. No.
There's got to be a pube somewhere.
Looking for dingleberries. What are you doing?
I don't want to look.
I just need to see something.
I'm gonna go with I just want to go with the flow. I want to make sure that Gilbert's telling the truth. He has no reason to lie about that. He was there, present for it. And he knows what, but he did make a note that's the Holy Grail. There is a picture of Prince wearing yellow shorts in the original photo shoot. Before that was airbrushed. That photo exists somewhere in the vault. I meant to ask Dwayne too all about that, and he's actually covering Lovesexy. He's actually going to be using that bit in the book, by the way. But so his new book that's coming out that covers Lovesexy, but that would be the Holy Grail. That absolutely would be the Holy Grail.
Well, the funny thing about it is, if the picture had come up at any point before Gilbert Davidson said this, people would think, oh, that's fake. It's fake. But now, if it shows up, it's going to be worth like sick amount of money.
I remember.
Wait. I'm sorry. I have to put this up. It's just.
Yeah, it's
Lawrence.
Yeah. So, anyways, so there was okay, you guys are still talking about the shredding and stuff and all that stuff. So I'm gonna let you guys kind of go off on that diatribe, because we're gonna be I will ask, as far as I see people asking me, telling me about things to ask Taika, we'll ask her all types of stuff. So you can obviously this is Funkatopia Live. We're going to ask the questions that you want to know. That's going to happen. So a lot of people are shocked that did not see the Gilbert interview, or that did not watch that. Yeah.
Well, now you know to go back and watch it. That's all. Let's just go
Brandon
back and check it
says,
out.
since 1988, the only thing I know for sure is that about the Love Sexy album is an absolute fire from beginning to end. Yes,
That's true.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew says those original photos should be in the vault. They probably are. I don't think they're still done going through everything that's in there. I think they've cataloged a lot of stuff, but somebody had to have, some documentarian had to have seen that.
It's somewhere. That's for sure. It's got to be.
Or he had them after it was airbrushed. He had them destroyed so that it would always be think that he was,
Yeah. Well, Either
all
way.
right. So we only have one more topic to cover here tonight. So we're going to cover it. We talked about the Love Sexy Black Album scenario. We talked about the Prince on Drugs stuff. We talked about that. And so the last topic, obviously, that we had was people trash talking. So, all right. This person did not name me in the rant. But anybody who follows the show and knows anybody who has historical context knows that they were talking about me. It was only a few sentences within this very, very, very long diatribe. But that's all it took. I mean, because the whole thing really didn't have anything really much to do about me until it got to that part.
Right.
Oops, I said he.
Or she, or it.
Or she, or however this person identifies at this moment.
I mean, how do you identify? That's it.
Yes, whatever. So, it was about me. Just so we're clear. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but here's what I can say. Essentially, there's been talk about me from elsewhere. And I was a bit annoyed by it because it was taken out of context. And however, even though it was said and no one has reached out to me, and my apologies ahead of time for me being vague. Just because this person did not call me out by name, but I knew that he was talking about me, and he knows that he was talking about me.
Right.
And I just want to communicate that it's not cool, because that's not how the conversation went down. And that's messed up. So I'm leaving it alone to not draw attention to it, even though this is drawing attention to it. This person mentioned something that I had said to them during a show. And again, kind of took it out of context. I mean, technically it was in context, but not like they put it out there. They did not mention me in my name, but I remember both conversations, and it applied to me. Since he said it, I've had some days to I'm sorry, but if you want to figure it out, you're going to have to do a little bit of homework, because I'm just not putting it out there, because it's not fair to this person, because again, they didn't name me, so I'm not naming them.
Right.
But I've had some days to process it and kind of thought about, because there was a whole story around it. And I thought about what they said and how they may have taken it at the time, considering this person's proclivity to the situation, I guess. So I'm just letting it go. But the whole thing was very desperate. Okay. Okay. I'm trying my best not to be negative or anything, but I think I'm going to end up swinging this way anyways. What were you going to say?
I was going to say you're not letting it. You haven't let it go yet.
Well, it's true. I haven't let it go yet. So,
right.
again, it was just 2 or 3 sentences in a very, very long diatribe, and it was essentially throwing some shade.
Mm-hmm.
I think the words used were, I think I was referred to in it as morbid and sad. 2 words that do not apply to me whatsoever, dude.
Right.
I am not sad. Do I look sad? I'm not sad. Maybe morbid. I do have a morbid sense of humor, but that's not what it was about. That's not what it's about. But anyways, it ticked me off because it kind of painted me as kind of like it painted me as shallow, and that's not cool. So I want to be clear. This is going to be the most braggadocious thing that you have ever heard me say. It's boastful and arrogant, but it is what it is. Currently, right now, no one is working harder than me to bring you Prince news, history, and coverage. No one. I put in, with Jeff Paige, we talked about this. I put in hours every day. Hours every single day. Even the days that you don't see us here, have you been watching the YouTube page? Have you been watching the Facebook page? It's crazy the amount of, it's just, our growth has just been staggering,
right?
Especially over the past few months. It's just been like,
right.
So, fellas, does anybody work harder than me? You know why? Because I'm the best, and that's right.
I think I'm gonna need a drink.
I'm so cool.
Well,
so I'll say it again, fellas. Does anybody work harder than me? You know why? Because I'm the best, and that's right. And this kind of stuff happens. I'll let you marinate on that for a bit.
It's just like
this kind of stuff happens when you get the traction that Funkatopia is getting now. In the past 28 days, Funkatopia's Facebook reach is over 250,000 people. That's our Facebook. That's the reach that we have, and I can't even tell you some of the things that are in the works right now. But you think that these people are mad now, right? And this stuff happens when you put in the work. People get jealous of your positive movement that as a result of the hard work that I put in, like a minimum of 1 to 2 hours every single day, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's not your full-time job, that's a lot. It's a minimum of a couple hours every single day that I'm spending on Funkatopia, and that's on the low end.
Right.
What am I going to do? Sit around and wait for something to happen? This approach of movement applies to everything in life. Everything. Business, health, money. I mean, if you're not motivated enough to make things happen, whatever your goal is, whatever your line is, if you're not motivated enough to make things happen, don't complain and whine.
Right.
Don't throw somebody else in your target, in your reticle. If you'd rather spend your time binging on Netflix, going to the movies, or whatever, that is your prerogative. And by all means, enjoy life, have a great time. If that's what you want to do, if enjoying life and just chilling, and awesome.
Right.
But don't spend what free time you do have taking swipes at the people that are actually doing it, doing the things that are their goals. That is sad and morbid, right. Also, by the way.
And morbid.
And also, don't question my commitment. This is what annoyed me probably the most. Don't question my commitment to protecting the legacy of Prince. Just don't. That annoys the crap out of me. Most of the hours that I spend working on this stuff is about Prince. Everything that we do almost is about Prince. We very, very rarely do a show that's not about Prince. The videos, the shows, the online radio station, the Funked Up app, both of which are licensed, by the way. So these folks that are out here trying to replicate it without that very important piece is a slap in the face to Prince.
Right.
I mean, don't it make you mad? It make me mad.
Well, look, I mean, you know how I feel about it.
Yep.
And first of all, I'll say what I would say at the end and the beginning when I think about this. We're all a part of the same family. It's all Prince family. Why does this even have to be an issue? Why are we even having this kind of conversation and slinging that kind of dirt at each other? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. We should be embracing each other and happy that somebody else has this information before another. And I know we're all shooting for numbers and shooting for whatever we are because we want to be the best at what we do, but it's the best at what we do. You don't have to slam others. You know, I feel like it's a bunch of school children kind of scenario. You know, he said this, she said that, he's talking, she's talking. It's all dumb. You know, and I can get why you feel defensive about it. I get it, but it doesn't have to be like this. If that person who shall not be mentioned grows up, this can stop. And I'm actually thinking about maybe that person who shall not be mentioned is just running out of material, themselves. I mean, I feel like if all you want to do is complain about somebody else's stuff, maybe you just aren't focusing on your own work. Obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Remember that. Maybe he or she just needs to have some crap to talk about, and they're like, hey, Mr. Christopher is an easy target, or hey, Mr. whichever voice you want me to use. People know Funkatopia, and so it's an easy target. I mean, so it's not terribly surprising, but like you said before, this has kind of like been going on, these kind of things, and it's annoying. It annoys the hell out of me because I'm just so sick of it. It's like we're a bunch of children now. And I don't mean to rant about it for so long and do that, but it's like I want to slap people's wrists, get you in a room. I don't even want to say hug it out. I just want to say cut that crap out.
Yeah, and I think that other people that do what we do, who know me, know that I actively embrace them. Right. Michael Dean, I've already mentioned Michael Dean like probably 4 times on the show today. I actually am a member of his Patreon. I actually signed up for his Patreon, so I'm actually supporting him as well. I actually purchased a t-shirt. You guys probably have seen me wear it as well. I mean, all these people that are out here that, all these Prince groups that are out there, I actively support all these people. We are family.
Right.
So I think that's the kind of thing that kind of agitates me, is that I am so supportive, and anybody that's out there that's doing podcast or that's doing anything that's Prince related, or the groups and stuff, nobody will tell you that I'm an asshole. Nobody.
Right.
Because I continually support all those people. And it's because I'm not competing with anybody. What I'm doing with Funkatopia, nobody else is doing it. Nobody else has a 24/7 ASCAP licensed radio station that's been running for years, by the way, that Prince was aware of and liked, and that regularly brings you 24/7 Prince music, and also another radio station that's 24/7 funk, just to kind of make sure that you guys understand that this is Funkatopia, even though it is very 95% Prince heavy. I get it.
Right.
But we have 2 radio stations that push funk, and that we have all types of artists in here. We support people, and nobody is doing what I'm doing.
Right.
So I don't, even if somebody did, cool. But I can't see it, because the amount of work that I have to do to keep all this stuff floating is friggin', you had to be unemployed. And
yeah, here's the thing. Somebody could do it, but not by themselves. They need to hire a major team. And that's the point. It's the amount of effort and the amount of work that's going behind it. And we spend a lot of time on it. And I tell you, for me to have to, sometimes I don't get a lot of the stuff right away. I can't jump in and add whatever, and I end up adding stuff later. And most of my stuff's off the cuff anyway, because that's how I live and breathe. But to have to go through and then review the things after you've pulled up what our topics are going to be is just as it's just as much work, because I've got to go back and do the same, secondary research to make sure I don't miss a comment or say the wrong thing and steer it in the wrong direction based off something that's not a fact. So,
Yeah. So
they just need
I
to
think the
grow
point
up.
of all this is STFU. Because here's the reality: is if you're going to bring that negativity, I don't want to hear it, because I've done nothing to anybody. I have been nothing but cordial and friendly to everybody that's in this space, and including this person.
Right.
Including this person. Matter of fact, I've probably worked with this person quite
Before.
a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Possibly.
So I don't understand. I don't understand where that's coming from. That's annoying to me.
Yeah.
That it's kind of like, I that's what's annoying. That's more. It's all of a sudden it's just like, okay, well,
Well, I'll just say that if that person suddenly realizes, oh, they're talking about me, and decides to say that I wasn't talking about you and it's not about you, then I'm going to say this, and like it or not, choose your words a little more carefully, because you can say I wasn't talking about you, but when you use terms and phrases that only between you guys are familiar with and know about, then yeah, you are talking about them. So just if it wasn't meant to be that, then think a little deeper before you speak.
And to be clear, there's no question he was talking about me, because it was a very specific conversation that we had that happened twice, and and I'm the only person that it refers to, because the topic that he chose was something specific that we talked about. And again, it doesn't matter. It does matter because of the fact that I feel like I'm slighted by this person for no reason whatsoever. And so all I want to say is that, just you need keep up.
Yeah. And every time we've talked about this situation, you've never badmouthed in our personal conversation. You've never actually badmouthed any of these other people, even this person we're referring to. You've always said, I don't understand. You don't understand why. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's going on. I don't get it. It's getting annoying. But you've never actually really badmouthed them. So I get the frustration.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, just know this rant has been coming for a minute, because, there are a few people who keep coming at me. This one seems to be, anyways, they keep my name in their mouths like I'm doing something wrong, when the truth of it is that they just can't keep up. And the truth of the matter is you won't.
Maybe Jesus want a kiss.
I just,
I'm so good.
This isn't a flash in the pan. I am in a zone, and Jeff Paige, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I have been in a zone for like months now.
Oh yeah.
And in case folks haven't noticed, I mean, nonstop, not just a day or two here or there where it's kind of like, oh, all of a sudden, like a couple of days, I'm just pushing stuff. I've been nonstop for months now,
right.
A nonstop, relentless pace to kind of keep this thing going. And
on a mission.
And if that inspires you, good, but you better commit, because Funkatopia is a steam train right now running at full speed. And I'm just telling you, you would rather be on the train and enjoy the ride. Other than that, you're just a car on the tracks, and
right.
that never ends well.
Right. And if you've ever seen a car on the tracks, yeah, exactly. It never ends well.
I was going to try to find a video of that, but all the videos are like 2.5 minutes long of just like random trains hitting cars.
To get run over.
I ain't trying that hard.
Everybody else, just get on the train, man. Just ride with us, man. And then sometimes you can run the cart.
And here's one more thing I'll say about this, as far as this person is concerned. I have never, ever closed the door on working more with this person. Never.
Right.
that's the other thing about it. I've never closed the door on working with this person, but something happened and just went dark.
Yeah, you said something. It's you.
I apparently
It's got to be.
I even got in front of this person in Minneapolis. The last time we were up in Minneapolis, it was like, what's up?
Are we good?
We'll talk later. We'll talk later. It was like, I chased him down twice. I was like, all right. And then the next thing I see is this, and it's like, all right, okay, all right, okay.
I just wish it could be squashed and not be.
I know it does need to be squashed because I'm not harboring bad feelings towards. I'm trying to think beyond this. I'm just like, why was that necessary?
Yeah.
It's just,
I think you're too emotional, Chris. I'm going to badmouth you.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it. You're not funny.
Anyways, keep up. Because if you're feeling frustrated now because it's not going to get better, because all you did was just throw more coal into the train. That's all that just happened. That's it. That's all that happened. That's all that happened. So
just keep up.
Expect more. So
keep up or shut up.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna keep on moving. So, buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket. So we didn't have a show for a couple weeks. We were trying to, just so we're clear, thank you for tuning in tonight. We're going to kind of tie some things up here because not people, unless you ask.
Unless you ask twice.
Unless you ask nicely. But we were working on getting a guest on tonight. That didn't happen. It may happen next week. I know that I mentioned Taika, where there's a bunch of things that are in play here.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of things in play. And I can't tell you some of the other things that are in play, but
keep tuning in.
Oh my God, dude. Just, there's stuff going on that goes way beyond online. Just so we're clear, there's stuff happening that has nothing to do with the show. Nothing has to do with there's stuff happening that's going to be next level stuff.
And when we start putting out the announcements or slight warnings or hints, take heed, pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention for sure.
Attention.
Save those Delta miles. That's all.
Yes. Right. You will need them, and you will not regret any moment of it.
Save those Delta miles because there's a bunch of stuff happening, and we just want to make sure that you guys are all,
Yep.
What it is. Andrew says, I think he's specifically referring to the Good Morning post that I did on Facebook, where Prince was performing a specific song. That was a funny way to put it. If you didn't capitalize the H, I don't think.
Well worded.
Yeah. Anyways, but thank you guys so much for tuning in again tonight. We're gonna end with a show at sub 2 hours. That's unbelievable. It's just amazing.
Sweet.
And I'm excited because there's some really, really cool stuff that's coming, and you guys are going to be blown away. And there's going to be more stuff that's going to be relentlessly bulldozed onto you guys as far as information and photos and videos and all kinds of specials coming up. Remember, you guys are only a couple months away from Prince-giving. You guys forgot about that. And Princemas, forgot about that. So we got all this stuff coming, and it's just nonstop. That's just Revolution 86 asked, can we get Sir Casey Terry, lead singer of Maserati, for an interview? I don't know if we can or not. We had Brown Mark and Law on for the 35th anniversary of the Maserati album, and we walk through the entire album. We walk through the songs and everything. So we've kind of had a really cool Maserati show. But yeah, it would be a good idea. Yeah, we have we got a lot of stuff coming, man. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you maybe next week, depending on how things shake out. We're kind of working around other people's schedules. There's some people that are on vacation that are trying to come back and trying to schedule it for a Tuesday night. So it might not be on a Tuesday night, or we might have to wait 2 weeks again. So we just don't know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight to Funkatopia Live, and I will make sure that I turn back over the radio station to you fine folks on the Funked Up app. So thank you so much for letting me interrupt your music enjoyment there. And good night, everyone. And for you fine folks that are here on Facebook and YouTube, thank you also for tuning in. Also, do we do Mixcloud? Yeah, I guess we're on Mixcloud too.
Yeah.
You have to really pay attention to Mixcloud. So it's going to be a lot of fun next week. It's either going to be a special guest or I'm going to find a truly divisive topic to talk about.
Just make sure you guys like and subscribe and all that stuff, and tell your friends to do that if you haven't yet. So follow more.
Subscribe, like, follow, anything. Please make sure that you follow on Facebook specifically too, because we are closing in on 20,000 followers on Facebook. So there's tons of invites that are out there. So make sure you check your box and click on follow.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the YouTube page recently, just like Mr. Christopher said, we got some snippets. That's what clips of our interviews. So if you missed the interview, check out the clips, but check out the whole interview. Let's keep those views going too. So yeah,
yes. Oh, Adriana, it's a very good point. Please donate on Patreon. Patreon.com/Funkatopia. That's patreon.com/Funkatopia. I'm going to push out a bunch of different files the next couple of days also, but also on the 1st specifically, because I know some folks like to play a system, but I'm not doing that. But tune in. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun. You guys don't want to be anywhere else. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to Funkatopia. Actually, we got to figure out another one. It's not an acronym.
Hey, I like WTF.
Yeah, WTF is welcome to Funkatopia, but when are we leaving? I guess we can kind of do it like Aloha. Aloha kind of means both. So
see ya.
Yeah. See ya. Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. If you missed any part of this, you know where to find it. And if you know who we were talking about, make sure they see this broadcast. Good night.